Welcome into the DML Network. It's your boy XPERT, and I got another episode of the bye week, the Firm Edition. That's right. First up, Mr. Addy 5 in those Houston Texans. What's going on, Addy?
XPERT, what's going on, bro?
What's good, man? We're going to get to your Firm counterpart, Mr. KP and the Chiefs, a little bit later, but let's talk Houston Texans for a minute. Having another good year. Last year didn't end like you wanted to. What stopped the Texans from playing in that Super Bowl?
Well, from just a natural, I guess, life perspective, I clocked out of that game. It probably sounds crazy, but like, I assumed I was gonna lose in regulation. If anybody remembers that game, he had like a field goal to kick with like 3 seconds left, and I was typing "good game" to him, and he never kicked it. So like from that point forward, it probably sounds crazy, but it was weird for me, and I told somebody like I didn't feel right winning that game. Almost like, nah, there's no reason I should have won that game. I mean, but obviously playing the game, I turned the ball over. That'll always do it for you. But a little bit of both of those really. Still in shock. You know, I was like, bro, what happened?
Yeah.
Disconnected or something like that. But, you know, it is what it is. Another grind, another year.
Another year, another grind. And let's talk about this roster. Deshaun Watson, MVP type quarterback in Houston. Can he lead this team to the Super Bowl?
Can he? For sure. For sure. Anybody that thinks otherwise is obviously lying. But like I said, same thing that lost us the playoffs last year will be the reason we either win the Super Bowl or lose again. Turnovers. That's what this game is about. The last 2 years, ironically enough, I think I've had the number one defense in the league in terms of yardage. And it's always up there in points given up. So if we can take care of the ball, obviously we set up really good to win games.
Let's talk about this backfield because Duke Johnson looked like he was going to be the guy. And then Corey Grant has come in here and just taken over in this backfield. He's on the sideline right now with a broken collarbone. But why has Corey Grant been so successful?
Oh, man, speed kills. It really does. And if you know what you're doing, if you can set up your blockers and get into the open field in this game, it's tough to tackle in the open field. And even me getting Grant is one of those things where it was like a blessing in disguise. Because I'll be honest with you, he's not the guy I wanted in free agency. You know how our process goes, and
right.
I'm a defense first guy, and I wanted Adrian Colbert like extremely bad. But the computer ended up picking him up for the Bills, and so he was on his squad before we opened up to be able to pick up those players in free agency. So then my next choice was Josh Jackson, the safety that's on the Packers now. And, you know, Deion counts it down. You're free to go get a player. I think I got him. I get there, and he's already gone. So, thankfully, I had already scouted through players that I wanted. And, you know, who can't use a fast back? So I figured I'd give it a chance. And the rest is history.
Wide receiver, still a spot that you are very, very good at making sure these guys get catches. And you have one of the best groups in the Dynasty. Of course, you got Nuke out there, the guy that just catches everything in DeAndre Hopkins. You got Will Fuller, who is a go-to guy really for you. Kenny Stills. You know, you got Kiki, Braxton Miller. I mean, the list goes on and on, even all the way down to J.J. Jones. Do you feel like there's a guy on this list that you could see walk out the door in your top guys and you think, man, we'll still be a good team at the receiver position?
Okay, so this sounds crazy, right? And most people probably couldn't say that, but for me, DeAndre Hopkins is one of those things where if I have him, it's cool. If I don't, it doesn't really matter. He's usually just a decoy. Now, when I say that, guys are probably going to hear this and go, all right, let's not play Hopkins.
Right.
And he'll probably get a lot of catches. But he's one of those players where you have to play him. You have to respect him. He's a 99. You know what I mean? But in terms of my offense, sometimes he's just another guy.
Could we see DeAndre Hopkins in a different jersey next season?
Oh, very easily. I was shopping him all last season. And I will be shopping him again. Nothing has changed. You get value out of players that are valuable, especially if you're not using them. So he's obviously on the block as he was before. And that's the thing too with a player like that. So last season, I shopped him. I shopped J.J. Watt. And sometimes guys give you offers as if you need to trade them, but it's like, dog, I'll keep a 99 overall player before I send him for trash cans. So at worst, I keep him because he's still under contract for another 2 years after this. At best, I move him for another piece that I could develop.
Offensive lines, not the greatest rated group in the DML. Do you think that's a point that you look at when the draft comes up at the end of this season? Try and get this offensive line, maybe another piece or two.
So here's the thing with that is I'm always looking to get better, especially on that position because the trenches are so important in football. They make up, your success most times. If you look back, your O-line is playing real well, your D-line is playing real well. Most times that translates positively onto the field. But I'm in a weird space. Obviously, real-life Texans, they traded away their first in that Tunsil deal. So I'm still without a first or second for this upcoming draft. I do have money, but obviously I have to tag Watson since he ain't wanting to sign. So I'll explore for sure the draft. Hopefully in one of those later rounds, I could try to get a lineman, but for me, this game plays weird.
Yeah.
And it seems at times that linemen don't play up to their ratings, and it's frustrating because you could have a really good lineman and he gets beat like Tunsil. It seems like he gets beat a lot, like to guys that aren't even that good sometimes. So it's one of those things where I guess depending on the plays you call or the ways you move in the pocket, X, Y, and Z. It's a lot of things that your linemen don't matter as much as the person usering the players on the field. For me, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to explain it without saying too much.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't want you to give away free chicken here on the bye week. But I mean, if you want to give some free chicken, there's a lot of AFC guys that would love to hear that. And a few NFC guys that may see you in the Super Bowl. I mean, we would love to. They would love to hear it.
I mean, at the end of the day, whatever I have on the field, whatever pieces, I'm gonna make it work. I'll just say that.
Okay. Why is this defense so successful? If you look at this defense, nothing really scares you. Nothing jumps out at you. Maybe J.J. Watt is really, really good. You got a very, very good safety back there in Reed. But why is this defense so good?
Probably the user. I think that most times you have to make plays as the user to overcompensate for some things that don't work. I'd be honest with you. I didn't even think my defense would be rated that high. I know it's always something that I come, with my hard hat on. I try to win games defensively, X, Y, and Z. But in terms of their performance, I feel like they're overachieving. A lot of players playing higher than their ratings. If you look at my secondary, Lonnie Johnson, who didn't even play at all last year because of need, is now my starting strong safety. So it's one of those things where guys are just playing above their heads. And in this game, I've noticed that once you get momentum going, you can do a lot of things.
Let's look at this schedule. Come out the gate on fire. Start 8-0, 9-0, whatever it is. Then you have a tough matchup versus the Browns, who's still undefeated, 10-0 right now. What happened in that Browns game that you just couldn't get the offense going at all?
It's one of those things where I just tip my hat to the Browns. If you look at the standings, I believe we're 2 top 3 defenses, and both defenses showed up in that game. Unfortunately for me, like I said earlier, the issue for me is going to always be turnovers. In that game, I threw two picks, had 2 fumbles by Deshaun Watson. Most of those were in scoring position for him. The game, he was up 15-0 for most of the game. I ended up scoring late. BS touchdown that didn't matter. And it's crazy because it wasn't even Deshaun that threw it. It was freaking McCarron.
Yeah.
So it's one of those games where, do I expect to play that bad offensively all the time? No. Does it factor in that I was playing a really good defensive user? Absolutely. But it's one of those things where sometimes you need to get punched in the mouth. It allows you to go about things a little differently, and hopefully it helps down the road.
You've had some really, really close games versus guys that the DML would probably just expect you to blow them out.
Yeah.
Does that just come down to, Addy just doesn't look at the regular season the same way other guys do?
I'll yes and no. We all know that for me, the regular season is just something to do.
Right.
Win enough games to get you in the dance, and that's when the real fun starts. And I wouldn't disrespect anyone, really. Guys have played well. So that just is what it is. Partially to blame. In those games, if you go look at them, my turnover numbers are probably really high. And I found that in this game, when you're trying to overcompensate in an area, or let's say you're trying to blow a guy out, it usually comes back to bite you versus just playing the game and letting it play out. So sometimes, you want to put up that 50 on a guy, or you see it as a stat game, and you're like, yeah, let me come in and throw X, Y, and Z, or let me not play a balanced game. And this Madden, sometimes that'll come back to bite you. You find yourself in a close game with a guy that you probably shouldn't be in one with, but I try to use them all as learning lessons. I would actually prefer close games, and because in the long run, in those games too, even though it's regular season doesn't matter, it gives you scenarios where you might need in the playoff where, let's say you're down 3 and you got to put a drive together, and it allows you to really piece things together rather than floating through a regular season, blowing guys out, and now you're in a playoff and in a tough matchup, and you've never been really punched in the mouth, and you can't respond. So, it's silver lining to that.
You got 5 games left on the schedule. Jags, Patriots, Bengals, Colts, and Titans. Do we see the and you just got a win versus the Packers? Do we see the Texans finishing with only 1 loss?
Very possible. Would I bet my money on it? No, just because, again, that's just the nature of the beast.
So who in those last 5 do you look at and say, yeah, if I bet my money, this would be the game that probably would lose it for me? Is it SJ and the Jags?
It's either him or it's the Bengals. I think that SJ plays a style where he blitzes a lot, man blitzes, and if you don't ID the right guy or you don't shift correctly, then you find yourself getting sacked a lot. And this is one of those games where forced fumbles happen a lot in the pocket with your quarterback, and things like that can happen. So he's definitely one of those guys. He's playing extremely well right now. He's lost twice to me and the Packers. So he's one of those guys, and he still can win the division. So he's going to come in motivated, obviously, next week. So that definitely could be one of them. The Bengals with Geno Atkins. Guys with elite pass rushers can always give you issue, or elite players. Say a Jalen Ramsey with SJ, or a freaking Geno Atkins with Taz. So you always got to be mindful of those guys. But if I can play my game, keep the turnovers well, I'm confident in all 5. We'll just see.
Do we see Addy 5 hang a banner in this Madden, and how long before we see it?
I would say yeah. I'm hoping so. That obviously that's always the goal. In terms of how fast, I won't say. It could be this season. I'd be lying if I say it wasn't. It couldn't be this season. It could be, but it could take me multiple seasons. Obviously, this roster isn't the most talented, and I'm making it work making it look better than it really is. There's holes on his team, and a more talented team like say the Chargers or the Browns in the AFC, those guys are really tough, or even the Jags, who have really tough pieces. If you don't bring your A game, those guys can get you out of there just as fast as you can. So hopefully this season, I mean, obviously I play to win. I always put my best foot forward, or at least try to win. So hopefully this season, if not, we'll keep grinding and try to get one before it's all over.
All right, man, since the last time you were on the bye week, or pretty much any show on the DML, you had something pretty important happen in your personal life. How's married life treating you?
Oh, married life is pretty great.
That's the first time I could hear the smile in your voice. I mean, when we talked about Texans winning the banner, smashing on the Jags or whoever you play, just no overconfidence in Addy. I'm just going to give you the vanilla answer. I asked you about your wife, and it's like lottery just was won on the other end of the mic.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I know that some guys are in situations where it isn't the best for them, but she's really like, that's my dog. That's the only way I can describe it. That's like, I talk to her as if I was talking to my friend. Like, we're really friends, and I think I'll lie. I said this before, and I hope everybody gets to marry somebody like that, where it's like, nah, this is give and take. Obviously, it takes work, but like somebody that truly has your back, and like every day you can wake up and know, like, damn, like this is an amazing feeling. So like I pray everyone gets to experience it. And I really was smiling because that's how I feel. Like, it's really just the dopest thing ever.
Does she get on to you about your dynasty and maybe when you're not playing as well as you should? Oh, because she watches. I know she watches.
She's my biggest. You guys have no clue. Like, she's my biggest critic. I threw a controller in here one time. I forgot who I was playing, and I went back in the room, and that's probably having to face her is probably worse than like an L. After coming back in there, and she's like, "So what happened?" And I'm like, and the thing about her is like she's engaged, so she knows some of the guys. So the other day I'm like, "Dang, bro, I beat HBO by 3," and she's like, "Come on!" Like, so it's like, it's really dope. Nah, for real, it adds like this other aspect to it where it's like, she's involved too, and I would say that with guys that are probably having issues with playing Madden with their wives. I've involved her in it. Like, she has her own Twitch, so it's like for her it's like kind of interactive where she gets to be a part of it too. She knows a lot of guys in the league, she knows my team, she knows all that stuff, so it's like it's something that we do together, so it's not a headache for me when it's time for me to play. Like, even if like early when I played the Packers and I'm like, this probably isn't the best game for you to be here, and like she completely understands, and it's like, all right, I go in the room, I catch when the game's over. So it's like, it's just a great space to be in.
That's awesome to hear. All right, man. I'm going to let you get out of here. Appreciate you jumping on the bye week. Good luck the rest of your season. Hopefully we'll see you in the Super Bowl here in another 6 weeks or so.
Thanks, bro. I really appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right. Stay blessed, Addy5. Always good when I get to see Addy5 on the show. That is definitely my brother. Just a great guy. All right. Next up, the other half of the firm here in the DML network, Mr. KP. What's going on, KP?
What up, XPERT? Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, man. And we're going to start where we ended with Addy. Last time I had you on the show, something magical happened in your life. How's married life treating you, KP?
Lovely, man. I'm definitely blessed, and I'm enjoying it.
Now, you proposed in Paris.
Yeah.
And you got married like on a private island. KP, what you doing for anniversaries and birthdays and stuff? You gotta buy like a star in the outer space and name it after her. She gotta have a lake on the moon. And KP, you set the bar really, really high. Do you think about that stuff?
I do, proposing at the Eiffel Tower and then get married in Costa Rica on the beach. It was awesome. It was fantastic. And now I'm like, shit, I gotta anniversaries gotta be crazy.
Yeah, dude, you can't just come home with flowers and chocolate on Valentine's Day. That's not gonna cut it.
Yeah, I gotta figure it out. I didn't think that far ahead.
All right, man. Let's talk about these Chiefs. What is going on in Kansas City?
Whew.
This is not the KP we used to, and I need to hear from you yourself. What is wrong in Kansas City?
It's bad, man. And I tried to tell y'all I was struggling with this Madden, and everybody thought I was like trying to be humble and just play it cool. But nah, like I'm trash. I've lost to HBO twice. You heard the reaction from Addie's wife about him winning by 3, let alone me losing twice. So, side note, shout out Addie. That comment from his wife had me dying. Glad I was on mute because I would have ruined the show. But it's been really, really hard, and it's a humble pie, I guess. I don't know how the people in that bottom 5 do it because I'm absolutely miserable. I don't enjoy the game right now. And I mean, I knew it was going to be rough by depleting my team because I'm trying to get rid of all the bad contracts to prepare for Mahomes' mega deal, which we got done. But not being able to have the real life ability to restructure or front load and back load or evenly distribute contracts is really hard when you have a superstar quarterback who wants $268 million.
Yeah, let's start right there. How hard was that paying him $268 million, knowing that handcuffs you for the next 5 years?
It does. Well, the way I look at it is it's a handcuff for 2 years, because I have $40 million alone tied up in Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu, and after 2 more years after this, I can finally shed that, and then it'll be like free to build and figure out how to get this roster where I need it. Because right now, I can only just get cheap, affordable help, and whatever I can afford, that's what I can get. Yeah. So I can't really get the pieces I need unless I draft perfectly, and my last draft was far from that. So got a lot to work on.
We're going to skip over the running backs because let's just be honest with each other. You don't use those 2 guys. So we're not even going to talk about them because they might as well just get lumped into this wide receiver group. Sammy Watkins, does he play very many more seasons with you?
No.
Does he make at least one more? He's done.
No, he's done. That's why he has 5 catches on the season. I don't even throw to him unless he's jumped into the game.
The trade to get John Ross, how big was that for you?
It was pivotal for my success because with him being where he's at, I projected and assumed that he wouldn't want an expensive contract. And so I knew if I could re-sign him this year, that I would have a cheap wide receiver that's very fast and very talented. And if I could get him for 5 years, it'd pretty much help me for the cycle. And lo and behold, he wanted 5 years, $25 million.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that helped me out so much when you factor Tyreek Hill's contract. For 2 star wide receivers, I'm going to be at, $20 million, $22 million. So that's more than all right with me.
Did you start taking wide receiver advice from SJ? Because you don't throw to anybody that's over 5'11".
No, actually I didn't. I just wanted speed, and that's what we got. And, I figured if we needed to throw somebody to high, we got Kelsey. But in all honesty, you don't need height if you can beat him with speed. So especially in this one, and you have a bazooka arm like Mahomes. Yeah. It gives you a lot of flexibility to make errors.
I'm glad you brought that tight end's name up. Top tight end still in the league, but he's 30 years old. You got a plan because your backup tight end, while he is 6'3", 256 pounds, and he does have some speed on him, he is garbage. What are you going to do at the tight end position when Kelsey says, "I'm done, coach"?
Rock with what I got because
you ain't got no money to buy anybody else.
Exactly. So and in all honesty, I think Kelsey might be done at the end of the season just for calorie casualty. I think I'm just gonna rock with my top 3 wide receivers, which and my running back. Even though I do not run the ball with him, he does have 800 total yards. So don't count him completely out. Right. Because as soon as it's check down, up, gotcha. So right. It's a decent balance, but I'm not really too focused on the tight end. I don't throw the tight ends too much unless people leave it open.
this offensive line,
Garbage.
I was going to say not the best, but I'm glad you said that. This offensive line, ratings-wise, one of the bottom groups in the DML.
Yeah.
Young,
I think we've
very
given
young.
up the fourth most sacks, I think. Fourth most sacks. I'm pretty sure it's fourth most sacks. I don't know. It's
You
bad.
got
My left tackle-
$268 million in the backfield.
Yeah.
How do you protect this guy standing in the backfield? Or is he just going to run for his life for the next 5 years?
He's gonna run for his life right now until I can afford help or draft better. Like, we just gonna run. We got to be one of the highest sack quarterbacks, if not the highest, because
You're in the top three.
When I hike the ball, my first thing I'm doing. No, I'm number one right now. What's
Oh
up?
my goodness.
Can't beat that. I'm number one by 6 sacks. What's up? Number one at something, baby. What's
KP,
up?
that's not a good stat to be number one in.
Hey, yeah. When we drop back as many times as we do, I understand. But as soon as I hike the ball, I'm like looking like, who's getting beat? Which way do I need to roll? Because, you know, we can't go back. You just got to go left, right, up, left, right. That's it. That's what we got. And so for him being an escape artist, it helps a lot because he breaks a lot of those little shoestring tackles and he just keeps on rolling. But, man, it really changes the game because it breaks your concentration on your reads. And so you're just trying to elude to get time to throw. And then in this game, you know how it is. If you free chicken, if y'all don't realize it, if you stop the throw instead of throwing on the run, that's a sack, bro.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't throw on the run, the game doesn't give you time to load up and throw it. Like, that's just going to be a sack. So you just got to let it fly. So doing that while eluding somebody and then trying to find my best receiver, it's tough.
It's been rough. It's been rough to watch. This not the KP I'm used to, especially on the offensive side. Now your defense is still playing well.
I don't think so. I feel like my offense is still really good. My defense is like, oh my God, only time it makes a play is if it's a user play. I don't really get any CPU help as far as interceptions or fumbles. And we've been turning the ball on offense. We have probably top 5 in fumbles lost. It's ridiculous. I don't know what, I swear it's a cheat code when people play me. Motherfuckers they just fumble. And we can't get them back. But we do have 32 interceptions, which is really good, but we're giving the ball right back because we're having to play from behind all the time.
Does that hurt because you've always been a defensive-minded guy?
Oh, yeah. I've always prided myself on being able to stop the run, forcing you to pass so I can have a chance for interceptions. And I can't do any of that right now. In order to stop anything, I'm having to overload one side and hope I can user it and get to the tackler in time. And you know, I've never led the league in tackles ever with a linebacker or anybody on my team. Last season, I led by, I think, 10 or 12 with Darren Lee, which was crazy to me. And he still didn't make a Pro Bowl, which is BS. But it was like, dang, like I did a lot with him. And without that, I don't know how bad that team would have been.
Your defense is ranked 32 out of 32 yards given up.
Yeah, I tried to tell you. My offense is, I think, second to the Cowboys.
Your pass defense is ranked 31 of 32. It's pretty bad. And your run defense is ranked, I believe, 28th.
It's bad, man. We're bleeding.
26.
And I gave up 3 defensive players, young defensive players for John Ross, knowing the sacrifice I was going to have to give. And I thought we'd be able to like compensate with scheme, which we have had some really good bend don't break. I don't remember what team it was, but we stopped them 3 times in the red zone. And so and it was a big win for us at the time. But we can't be giving up that many yards. We just can't. It's really bad. We're bleeding.
Is that what is making this team struggle so much? Is that the two sides of the football, the offense and defense, aren't complementary to each other? If the offense is playing bad, the defense is not stepping up. If the defense is playing bad, your offense is struggling. Those two sides of the ball are having a battle right now in that locker room.
Yeah, and all they're doing is pointing fingers. It's y'all. No, it's you. It's both. It's both. And part of that is coaching, because when I get into certain situations, I'll get real stubborn, and I need to just take 5 seconds, address, and be like, all right, let me chip away at this instead of like trying to hurry up, because everyone just backs all their corners up, and then I'm just going to throw into double teams and things like that, and I just got to be able to take the check downs. And on defense, I don't know what to do, because I like to press a lot, and I do not have the players to do that.
Right.
I've moved like Tyrann Mathieu to corner to try and help compensate, because my number one corner, who was number one in the league when he went out in interceptions, he is actually playing really, really well, and he's out. I think I lost him for like 5 or 8 weeks total, and so that definitely did not help, because he was covering a lot of ground and would always take the best receiver. And so having an 89 speed safety do that is a struggle.
You had a tough schedule to start the year. You had Chargers 2 of the first 3 weeks. Never a good way to start. You had the Dolphins,
Yeah, that's always good.
and the Jags also in that first 6 weeks. And then you get a big win before the bye versus the Bucks. Your offense play well, your defense play well. But then you come out the bye, and you struggled versus the Raiders. I say struggle. You got nuggets put on you against the Raiders, 61-27. And Andy just did anything he wanted to do.
I think he had 2 or 3 defensive touchdowns, if I recall.
Yeah, he was in your offensive huddle the entire game. And then you had the big matchup versus the Ravens. Why has it been so difficult to play guys that when we look at the schedule, we say, yep, that's a win for KP?
I don't know. My defense.
I mean, is HBO better than KP at Madden 20?
Right now he is. He's playing better
KP,
than me.
that had to hurt.
I mean, you are what your record says, and right now I'm a 4-7 team, and my offense is playing great. My defense cannot hold up their end of the bargain, and I'm in control of both. So, whoever's better than 4-7, I'm worse than them. So that's just where it's at.
You got the Patriots coming up, the Bills, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Falcons.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs go on a run.
We're looking to go 5 straight right now. That's my goal. I'm not even sitting here looking one at a time. No, I want 9-7. I want 9-7. Like that's my goal. I don't need to sit here and say I want to go 1-0 this week. No,
right.
We want 9-7. We've had a disappointing season, and even if that's not enough to make the playoffs, it's enough to make me feel like I have a grasp on this game. If we can run this table, which it'll be tough because there are really good opponents that I do have to go against.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So goal's 5-0.
5-0, which would make you 6-0 because you just beat the Saints.
There you go.
Finish the year 6-0, to give yourself a chance